Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Dominica's economy projected to grow by 3.2% this year. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, January 12. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, says the bank's target for countries in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, the ECCU, is 5%. That's 5% economic growth in 2017. But he says projections for Dominica are set lower as the island is still recovering from the ravages of the 2015 tropical storm Erica.
The projection at this stage is that the Dominican economy will grow by 3.2% this year and again by 3.2% next year. And we believe, based on what we've seen so far, that it is quite possible that it can meet those projections. And of course, that's still not 5%, but it's moving in the right direction. It's getting higher, and we want it to get at 5%. 5% allows us to see more job creation and to see a reduction in poverty. So that's why we believe 5% is important.
In 2016, 1 year after Erica wreaked havoc on the island, taking lives and causing billions of dollars in infrastructural damage, Dominica's economy contracted by 2.5%. There was a growth projection of 1.9% for last year, but Antoine says there could be a change when the final figures are tabulated later this year. The only two ECCU countries that reached or neared the 5% growth target in 2005 were Grenada at 5.2% and St. Kitts Nevis at 4.9%. The Trinidad and Tobago government says state-owned oil company Petrotrin will need to be restructured in order to survive. The announcement came from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley on Wednesday night, less than 24 hours after Petrotrin signed an agreement with the Oilfield Workers Trade Union for a 5% salary increase for workers to avoid a 90-day strike in the vital energy sector. The pay deal for the 2011 to 2014 period will cost Petrotrin an estimated 80 million TT dollars. Addressing the nation in a televised broadcast on Wednesday night, the Prime Minister outlined Petrotrin's precarious financial situation and said action must be taken.
The current situation cannot be left to limp along unattended. It is the intention of this government to take the best advice, consult as widely as we have to, but in the end, take all necessary steps to respond to the challenges and to position the company to realize its fullest potential so that it can deliver on the promise, not only of good jobs for those who are fortunate enough to be employed there, but to the wider national community, which depends on the company's success and have to be protected from any chronic misadventures which may be spawned there.
Rowley pointed out that most of the capital spending at Petrotrin has been on refinery operations at the expense of actual oil and gas production. And he said there will be some opportunities for workers and the public in the process of correcting that imbalance.
Because of financial constraints at both the level of the state and the company, rectifying this imbalance now can only be effected by imports of external and domestic capital, as well as new technology into oil and gas production at Petrotrin. Survival depends on such a successful import, demanding the cooperation of all the company's stakeholders. In this approach, there will be opportunities for local equity investment and employee stock ownership in a future profitably restructured company. The question is, Are we up to the task of grasping these exciting possibilities? Or will we be stuck in the past of failed confrontations and finger-pointing?
Still in the Twin Island Republic, Attorney General Faris Alwari says there were over 3,000 child marriages in the last 20 years. He made the disclosure in the Senate as he piloted the Miscellaneous Provisions Marriage Bill 2016. That bill seeks to raise the age of marriage to 18 as recommended by the United Nations and amend the Hindu Marriage Act, the Muslim Marriage Act and Divorce Act, and the Orisha Marriage Act. Kamal Georges of CNC3 News tells us more.
We've been turning a blind eye to an issue for a very long time.
The issue is one the Attorney General says has allowed 3,478 children to become husbands and wives in this country.
This thing has no religious boundary. It is across the board. That is to be borne out in the statistical information.
AG Faris Al-Rawi brought the statistics to the Senate to make a case for raising the age of marriage from as low as 12 in some religions to 18 for both males and females across the board. Of the child marriages in the last 2 decades, AG Al-Rawi says more than 1,100 was civil, which included Christian, 526 were Muslim, and almost 1,800 were Hindu. The AG says the data also points to gender inequality. Of those child marriages, 3,404 were girls compared to only 74 males.
Can a 12-year-old, can a 13-year-old, can a 14-year-old holding a child, looking after a home, looking after a family, really access the same level of education? Really have the same opportunities for advancement? Really not have to deal with certain social stigmas, be treated equally at school? These are live questions, which I don't propose to give any answer to. I'm asking the obvious questions.
The data presented also shows that between 1995 to 2015, 15,000 children gave birth. However, 13 to 16-year-olds also had 743 abortions, and this figure does not include backyard operations. Last year alone, the Attorney General says there were 12 abortions in the public sector to girls as young as 11. Trinidad and Tobago, he lamented, is one of 8 countries like Iraq and Sudan where child marriages are still allowed. He used India as an example where the age of marriage is 18 for men and 21 for women.
We have had child marriages for 13-year-olds in 2016.
Interestingly, he says most child marriages have happened in urban areas and not in rural communities.
In Belize, suspended parliamentarian Julius Espat is expected to be back in the House of Representatives soon. The KO South area representative was ejected by law enforcement officers from the House last August for using unparliamentary language. The Speaker of the House at the time, Michael Prefi, had insisted Espat could not return until he apologized for his behavior. But local reports say a deal was brokered when Espat and opposition party whip Michael Finnegan met with the incoming Speaker of the House, Laura Longsworth. Espat wrote a letter to Longsworth saying he regretted the unfortunate incident and expressed respect for the chair. A motion for the return of Espat to the lower chamber will be presented on Friday to be voted on. And it's expected that he will be back in the House by the following sitting. Officials in Belize say 2016 has gone on record as the year with the most murders since 2012. Police Commissioner Alan Wiley says there were 138 murders last year compared to 118 in 2015. But he reports that 51 of those cases have been solved, while 87 still are being investigated. We get more in this report from Isani Cayetano of Belize Channel 5.
As it pertains to homicides, the Joint Intelligence Coordinating Center has organized that number into specific categories.
Based on the information we had, we have classified of those murders, 17 we've classified as gang-related, 10 we've classified as domestic jealousy, we've had 10 for robberies, we've had 22 for disputes, we have 7 for revenge. We have 9 categorized as drug-related. We have 1 as a witness of a murder. We have 2 for burglary. We have 1 where we believe a innocent bystander was killed, and we have one also as mistaken identity, 6 as retaliation, 1 as a theft, 1 as a rape, and 50 we do not know the reasons as to why those incidents may have occurred.
While the police department is preparing to introduce a new plan of action to address the perennial issue of crime and violence in the weeks ahead, Compal Wiley attests that a majority of the murders committed were crimes of opportunity.
Many of the murders that occurred were crimes of opportunities, and many cases were not preventable from the police side. You must understand that there are other issues that drive the level of crimes out there, in particular murders, because of the various disagreements between the different groups.
2016, in spite of the increase in violent crimes, also saw the number of boots on the ground improved. CEO of Home Affairs, retired Colonel George Lovell, explains the correlation.
Police alone and their action cannot and will not bring down the level of crime to the extent that we as a society can be so happy with. The police can be out there in the numbers, or even in larger numbers, and that in itself will not bring down the level of crime, especially the murders that we are seeing. I think we need to look at this from a whole of society standpoint, and not just looking at police going out there in the numbers and the sort of big sticks that we have.
That holistic perspective has prompted the Ministry of Home Affairs to come up with a comprehensive strategy going forward.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, another major oil find off Guyana. The details of that story and more when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome to my island. Welcome to my Caribbean island. Welcome to my island.
Maybe in my next life I'll become a golfer.
So now I'm going to add my red cabbage or purple cabbage. I like to say purple, it looks more purple than red to me. And I also have some Brunoise red bell peppers just to add to that color contrast. I hate seeing a dull plate. I'm gonna try and toss this now, because when I add my liquid, I don't want to be tossing it again. I just want to plate it, right?
International oil and gas company ExxonMobil has discovered more oil offshore Guyana. It announced the positive results from its Payara-1 well on Tuesday. It is ExxonMobil's second oil discovery on the Starbrook block. The first was at the Liza well. President of ExxonMobil Exploration Company Steve Greenlee says this latest discovery further establishes the area as a significant exploration province. In addition to the Payara discovery, appraisal drilling at the Liza 3 well has identified an additional high-quality, deeper reservoir directly below the Liza field, which is estimated to contain between 100 and 150 million oil-equivalent barrels. In Bermuda, Governor John Rankin has ordered an independent review of the use of pepper spray by police at a demonstration early last month that blocked parliamentarians from entering the House of Assembly. Rankin, who has been in the post for only a month, said on Wednesday that in line with best practice, the police response to the protests should be independently reviewed by a peer organization. He announced that he will arrange for a senior British officer to conduct the review and make recommendations for improvement. events. Rankin's intervention came after Shadow Attorney General Michael Scott demanded a judicial public inquiry into the December 2 protest. He said the events of that day tore at Bermuda's national fabric and left all right-thinking people alarmed and outraged. Police were criticized after officers used pepper spray on a crowd of protesters, blocking legislators from entering the House. The demonstrators' aim was to prevent debate of legislation concerning a multi-million-dollar redevelopment of the airport in a public-private partnership between government and a Canadian company. St. Lucian school children are being warned of prosecution after officials seized weapons and several packages of drugs, including cocaine, from students. The Community Relations Branch of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force is adopting a zero-tolerance policy to illegal contraband at schools in 2017. It has served notice that children who commit any serious criminal acts will be prosecuted. On Wednesday, police disclosed the disturbing finds which were seized during random searches conducted in 2015 and 2016. 47 knives, including pen knives, 5 cutlasses, 46 scissors, 9 screwdrivers, and 14 lighters were recovered, along with 16 marijuana sticks, 13 5-bag portions of the drug, 104 foil wraps of marijuana, and 3 foil wraps with crack cocaine. Those offenders were spared prosecution and placed in a rehabilitative program coordinated by their schools. Officer Ted King of the CRB says students as early as Form 1 age were involved. He also expressed concern that more young students were getting involved in the illegal trade, and King suggested that adults might be encouraging children in deviant behavior. He warned that anyone introducing students to the sale and use of drugs would face the full brunt of the law. And ahead in Newsline Sport, former TNT Soca Warriors head coach talks about his regrets. Sport is next. Don't go away.
The Jonkono's fife, the rhythm of the drum, the strum of the pan, the lilt of the voice from island to mainland. All pigments and tones, old and young, his and hers, all we are one. You, we, me. This is UE TV.
Today on Pro Watercross, round 1 of the Hidden Trails Sea-Doo Pro Watercross Tour from Panama City Beach, Florida. We'll preview the season, meet the new racers as the chase for a world and national championship begins. From white sand beaches and sparkling blue water to even some classic Florida kitsch. A tour of today's race site in sunny Panama City Beach, Florida. And all the way from South Africa, meet a 21-year-old racer living the American dream.
Today on 21st Century, a global epidemic, death on the world's roads. Can we bring the numbers down?
She was a rambunctious, happy little girl, and she'd stand up on the 44 bus and sing the wheels on the bus go round and round.
1.25 million deaths on the world's roads every year.
Former TNT football head coach says he regrets not standing up to the ultimatum given to him by TTFA President David John Williams on the day he was introduced to the public less than a month ago. Tom St. V, who made the shock announcement that he's resigning from TNT football, says everything began on the wrong foot. In this report from Jassy Merrick of C-Sport, the Belgian explained that he decided to quit because the conditions in TNT football were not right for him.
He came highly recommended as well. He worked in difficult situations in Africa, and we feel that he can do the job for us. I will also tell you this, that if he doesn't get the job done on the 24th and 28th of March, he'll be looking for a job. And I make no apologies to say that. He's laughing, but we're very serious. Because if we don't get the results on the 24th and on the 28th of March, we might as well kiss our campaign goodbye.
In one of the final interviews the coach will give on local soil, he spoke of regret and disappointment of not defending himself when David John Williams hired and fired him in one breath in the full glare of the Trinidad and Tobago public. He says if he could do it all over again, he would have stood up for himself or even refused to accept the job.
From the moment of the presentation, things went already wrong. I think that the players and outside world didn't take or respected me like I deserve to be respected, only with the words who were used at the presentation. There is no coach in the world who get presented to the media as new coach and get already fired in the same day. My family told me it was the wisest decision would be to step up that same day. I did not do it because I was happy and proud to be here, and I thought I could achieve something. But after this short period of time, for me it was very clear that I could not achieve anything in this environment.
St. Feet stated categorically that there was no rift with players, especially Jovan Jones and Kevin Molino. While another of his regrets was the manner in which he handled the situation involving Jomal Williams and Daniel Cyrus, both of whom he accused of reporting to camp smelling of alcohol. Even with just about 34 days in the job, he mentions among his accomplishments being able to expose several local players. He says he'll take some time away from the game to recollect himself, even implying that he might be following the fortunes of the Red Army.
The person who comes now will have, first of all, 2.5 months time to prepare the team. I had 1 week time to make my first selection, so the new person, he has much more time to prepare his team. Plus the dates in March will be official FIFA dates, so all the players who play in United States and in Europe will be available, and also the European-based players will be top fit. We have top players, and Trinidad and Tobago has the potential to qualify for World Cup. I believe they're still going to do that, but then you need 90% of your top players available, and then you can add a few others to compensate it, but you cannot have 10% available and the rest compensation. That's not possible.
And there have been mixed reactions from former players at home and abroad to St. Feet's resignation. In this report from TV6's Serge Dufour, a former national goalkeeper says he believes the coach's departure will make it harder for the Soca Warriors to qualify for the World Cup. And he's calling for the removal of the governing body of football in Trinidad and Tobago.
Shock and awe to laughter and ridicule. Those were some of the reactions today upon learning of Tom St. Feet's resignation. Brent Sancho, who didn't have the best relationship with St. Feet, said on Twitter, "Coming to a town near you, the Trinidad and Tobago football circus featuring live acts and thrills." Former national goalkeeper and sport commentator Shaka Hislop said on Twitter, "I've had hangovers that lasted longer than St. Feet." Coach Stephen Hart, contacted today, said it's left up to the media now to ask the hard questions. When asked whether he would be interested in returning, he said he'd prefer to just sit back and watch proceedings. Meantime, former goalkeeper Kelvin Jack, who was also contacted moments before St. Feet made his decision, said, quote, "St. Feet did not come with pedigree and his appointment was controversial to say the least. I'm not sure what to make of him. He has lost 3 games already, but it did not surprise me as losing is a habit and we have been losing a lot of matches recently. I doubted very much whether he would be able to turn it around as he has very little support from his president DJW and the fans." He added, "It will be very difficult to qualify for the World Cup now. It's not impossible, but I think to do that may require a managerial change." End quote.
In cricket now, mix-up or not, the Guyana Jaguars are happy to have fast bowler Ronsford Beaton on their side. Beaton and batsman Jonathan Fu have been selected for this month's regional Super 50 tournament. Head coach Isan Crandon believes their inclusion will add value to the team.
That head coach of the Guyana Jaguar team, Isan Crandon, says that inclusion of fast bowler Ronsford Beaton and batsman Jonathan Fu in the regional Super 50 squad is a great asset to the team. Beaton is considered to be one of the Caribbean best fast bowler with an impressive bowler record at the regional international level.
It's good, to see Beaton back into the mix of things. I think he had a very good A team out in there. It was outstanding there. He did well in CPL and fairly okay in Bangladesh League. So he's in good, bowling form at the moment. And we're happy to have him around. And I hope he feels the same way to be among us in this Group A. Fu, we know what he's capable of doing. He had a very good franchise league season, and hopefully he can transform the form in this tournament. We know he's capable of doing it. He's done it in the Caribbean Premier League. We know what he did against Barbados in the final and the other games. So it's all about these guys, executing what they know best.
Jonathan Fu was not selected to the national team for several years now, but the Barbadian is excited to be back in the national lineup once again.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, I'm ready to take up whatever challenge the management and the captain, whatever role they have for me. I think I'm ready to play that role.
In terms of your level of fitness and thing, how do you see it?
Actually, I see my level of fitness is up there, the way how I'm feeling right now, but it's still have room for improvements.
The Jaguars will play in Zone B alongside Barbados Pride, Jamaica Scorpions, Combined Campuses and Colleges Marooners, and the ICC Americas. The Jaguars will depart for Barbados on January 21st and will face Barbados in their opening match on the 24th.
Barbados' historic Kensington Oval will host its 9th test in 10 years when Pakistan tours the Caribbean later this year. The game will be the second of 3 tests on the March 13 to May 10 tour, which will also include 3 one-day internationals and 2 T20 internationals. Both sides met in a full tour in the United Arab Emirates late last year, with the Caribbean side losing all 3 formats. The West Indies Cricket Board Operations Manager Roland Holder says he expects the tour to be a challenging one. Kensington missed out on a test last year when India toured the Caribbean, but hosted tests for every year between 2008 and 2015. The venue's most recent test was in 2015 when West Indies beat England by 5 wickets inside 3 days to snatch a 1-1 draw in the 3-test series. Sabina Park in Jamaica will play host to the opening test starting April 2, the 4th test to be staged in the venue as in many years. The 2nd test bowls off at Kensington on April 30, while the 3rd test starts at Windsor Park on May 10. And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
We arrived in Japan on the 2nd December, and we start immediately our preparation. And today, the last test in Yokohama Stadium with a really simulation reality that we had really the experience with the VARs giving the information to the referee when something occurred in the pitch.
Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and CaribVision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today. Again, the major developments of this day. Dominica's economy projected to grow by 3.2% this year, while the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank targets 5% growth for the sub-region. And in sport, former TNT football head coach Tom St. V says he regrets not standing up to an ultimatum given to him publicly by the TTFA president. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CanaNews.com. Have yourselves a very good night.